Wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, one and all present here. Indeed, it's a great pride and honor for me to be here standing. And like previous speakers mentioned, they were invited, known quite earlier. But when Hafiz Saab came to me and met last week, I chose to be invited and I said, why didn't you actually put me as a speaker? It would be an honor for me to come here and address this August occasion. Because I've always believed, apart from all what we do in life, बड़ी हिम्मत की बात है कारोबारी बनना. बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस लेकर कारोबार शुरू करते हैं एंड खासकर इंडिया जैसी कंट्री में यार ट्रेडर बनना आसान है, सामान एक जगह से लेके दूसरी जगह बेचना या कुछ एम्प्लॉयमेंट करना, लेकिन एक कारोबार शुरू कर जहां पे खुद का पैसा, खुद का कैपिटल, खुद की मेहनत, खुद की हिम्मत और बावजूद ये सब करने के बाद आपके ऊपर कभी भी लोग मंडराते रहते हैं कि आपने टैक्सेस टाइम पे किए, आप वायलेशंस कर रहे हैं, आप ड्यूज पे कर रहे हैं और इसके ऊपर expectations from your employees, your stakeholders. So with all of these challenges, becoming an entrepreneur, I think it's one of the toughest decisions what anybody can make in their lifespan. So on that note, I must congratulate each and every member of MIA who have gotten themselves to be an entrepreneur, who've chosen to be an entrepreneur, and also being part of such association, coming here, spending again, taking your time out from your valuable schedule and putting up a stall, ensuring, coming, listening to people speak, exchanging of ideas, exchanging of value propositions. So what more? Congratulations to the whole team of MIA and the minds behind this wonderful occasion, wonderful gathering. आया था यहाँ पे prepare होके कुछ सुनाऊंगा, लेकिन after walking through all this, I don't think I can inspire here or advise or guide or anything to this wonderful gathering. But having said that, since I came very quickly, I'm going to run through what I got with me. So, India's growth story, very intact, very promising. We've grown transformation from what we were 8 to 10 years to now 6th and moving towards the third largest economy in the next couple of years. So we have the kind of opportunity what we all going to be facing. Key indicators in terms of what is there from say about 10 to 15 years in our journey. What could happen is this can only get accelerated more. We have number of mutual fund investments, medical colleges, digital transformation per GDP, number of airports, all these figures very much there. Here now come to the context of the very program or the very association we are. What is that? It is challenging for us as a community when we, Muslim Industrial Association, and as a community, the major challenges which we are facing. Some of the figures gotten out from the recent NSSOO, education attainment, biggest challenge. We are not attaining the right education, upgradation of skills or empowering our youths. Areas like if you see male postgraduates, in out of every 1,000 postgraduates, we find only about 15 or 18, maybe it is about 2010, 12 figures. Maybe we've grown to about 20 of those now. Then we have average per capita consumption expenditure. We are still too poor in terms of a contribution with just about 32 rupees per day towards our contribution. So our participation in labor forces, we as community far behind, lacking in where we are supposed to be in comparing all this to the population what we are at. So these are some of the figures there, don't want to elaborate much. Addressing economic disparities, yes, we are at a vicious circle. We have education as a challenge, then comes the income, no good quality education, accessibility to not much of opportunities, then our economic disparity. So then comes the social disparity. So the cycle, the vicious cycle seems to be just going and contribute. It just keeps continuing, not able to break that embargo. Looking at job indicators in terms of a labor force participation rate has been very low, abysmally low compared to our kind of per capita which we should be competing with. Now comes all this said, we all live in the great world and we are living here with great amount of hope, with great amount of aspiration, anticipation that things are going to change, things are going to can transform. And I think it is that transformational journey which we all have to look at, that transformational mindset which we have to embark or adapt, which starts from the need for recognition as to where we need to transform, the need for identifying some of our negativities or lacunas or our shortcomings. The sooner we understand this, the better we are able to actually look at how we can fix this entire system or how we can look at making the change. So embarking need for recognition in this dynamic society, proactive planning towards transformation. Planning is the key. We all know the great story, Shuhada Badr, with just 313 people, an army of 313 people, we embarked and embraced a big contingent of maybe 10,000 plus, and yet we emerge prosperous. So that's the importance of planning, then empowering youths, communities, people around us. Then last is how we thrive in the Indian ecosystem or the landscape or the diversity with which we are. So these are the four broad principles I think we all should adapt in terms of transformation and planning. Here you have strategic planning pyramid. Start with vision, mission, objective, strategy, approach, and then the tactics. You're all entrepreneurs. You all don't need this gyan from me, right? But I just showing you, since I've got this along, in terms of, because you all have a vision, you all have a mission, you all have an objective with that which you have started your businesses. So here, sometimes we need to look at transition to transformation. What's the major difference between these two? Transition to transformation, we often tend to confuse ourselves. Transition, I could tell you in a very simple term, is we all at a very transitionary stage if on an everyday basis. We go to reach our establishment, make the new change which a customer requires, bring in the new orders, look at the EBITDAs, look at the growth, look at very micro numbers, and we keep continuing in terms of our transition is concerned. Now, opposite, or rather something which is more disruptive, something which is more challenging to embark. Just before the speaker, lady speaker mentioned, 5,000, the journey from 5,000 to 10,000 crores is what requires a transformational change. That transformational change is what we need to understand, what is that we have to embark on. And I believe our community should, apart from being transitionary mode, we have to embark on a very transformational change. That transformational change is where you have to look at within your business. The things around us are disrupting. What used to be 5 years back, nobody knew what social media marketing or social media promotions or social media. Today, if you look at your books, at least at my organization, we are spending about 12 to 14% of our marketing budget on social media spending. We are spending our marketing budget on social media spending. Now, whether this is relevant, this is irrelevant, this is expensive, it's all for a different debate. But that's the phase we are actually embarking on. That's the phase which we are witnessing on. So the choosing the right transition to change, then transformational change, then comes whether choosing which is the right approach. Each one have to decide in your position. You want to be in the comfort zone, continue the transition. If you want to break some markets, if you want to be known, if you want to be the leader in the market position, transformational change is the key. And that's the only way forward. Strategic goals, clear objective, having a roadmap. Once you've decided if it's transformational, then comes in terms of setting a very defined, clear strategic goals of achieving the transformation stones. Look at what are the small stepping stones initially to go for this transformational change, and then look at your major objectives of achieving the pillars of your organization, which is going to bring in your change. Is it the men? Is it the product innovation? Is it the marketing dynamics? Or is it the overall in terms of financial implications which you have? So all this said, this is something which is of great importance or interest to me, and I want you to please pay some attention to this. This is where we have to focus as entrepreneurs. It's the mindset. हिम्मत है, हौसले है, but साथ ही साथ सही mindset होना important है. So we all work. Profit is the biggest motivator. Yes or no, entrepreneurs? Profit is definitely a big motive, and there's no feeling like money in the pocket. No better feeling like money in the pocket. It's very true. But look at businesses around us. And I want you to analyze, each of you to analyze at your own pace. Some businesses have stood the test of water. And I think before Tatas have been here for hundreds of years. See how they've, and I would like to take their example itself. See how they ensured they hold the stakeholders' interest very well. And in this case, Hafiz Saab just mentioned he was one of the stakeholders as a vendor supplier. And his interest in once in a 100-year phenomena was COVID. Stakeholders' interest was very well protected by the Tatas. Why? Because they're chasing not just profit, but they're chasing a purpose. They're chasing a purpose. So please, my dear friends, my dear colleagues, look at defining, apart from chasing, you need to define a larger purpose. And that purpose should be imbibed as your organizational ethos. Then comes network to hierarchy. One of our speakers mentioned how best to network. Super. I did listen to him. Fahim did mention with regard to networking and the power of networking. Often, let's see if we can inculcate this within our organization itself, because each of our employees, our colleagues, have something positive to offer, to complement to our operations. We tend to think we have a hierarchical structure. I am the boss, marketing manager be it, sales manager be it, shop floor, these have to listen to my words. Sunna hai, I am the boss and nothing beyond this. Imagine you change the scenario. Instead of being a very hierarchical, look at having open door, open cabin, stand-up meetings, and seek in their advices, seek in their opinions of how best we can improve our processes. And mind you, the kind of insights what you're going to get from each of your employee, it's going to be transformational for you all. We tend to ignore some of the low-hanging fruits, and we think these are all there. These are all given. So we don't try, we ignore all these, but look at how we can seek their inputs and change the structure from being more hierarchical to having a network within your organization. Then coming to control and empower. Yes, of course, boss is in charge, you're the stakeholder, अपना पैसा लगाया आप, हिम्मत से आप बढ़ रहे हैं, तो क्या हो रहा है? You want to keep a tight fist on every aspect of your organization. You don't want to let go any function. You want to control everything. What happens today? The age and time, the availability, the opportunity for every stakeholder or every human being in today's time because of digital revolution has been such that there are a lot of inputs what each one can share. So, and they have built an internal capacity. So from control, if you try and transition or transform this to more empowering your team, set your controls in place, set your variables in place, look at what is the extent, look at what is the variable output. We saw a slide just before this where controlling or unwilling or uncontrollable workforces is another major challenge for leaders. It is true. But how do you discover this without actually empowering people? You haven't given them the chance to perform. So, where is the question of actually coming to discover whether they are truly capable or incapable? So, please look at transitioning from controlling to more empowering people to ensure they perform. The other aspect is planning and experimenting. करते रहो कुछ करो मत, इसमें फर्क है. As much as you plan, please ensure you go and try out something new. This is something which we as Indians lack in terms of developing R&D. So time has come at your organization level, small changes, new product introduction, new product introducing, new technologies, new evolution, new method of doing the same old things are going to bring in a lot of changes. Then the final thing, let's be very transparent than being very private or privacy. Transparency is something which we lack. Today, in terms of being digital age, availability or accessibility to information is quite open. So consider what is private today to you, maybe in the next days to come, years or months to come, it's all there in the public domain. Whether be it your compliances, whether you're using Tally, whether you're using your GST, your Aadhaar, everything is there on the public domain. So keep your processes as simple as possible, as clear and clean as possible in order to ensure you are moving away from privacy and complete transparency because you have nothing to worry there. So look at that aspect. Empowering, this is something which is quite close to my heart. I keep advocating this and trying to, my dear fellow mates, I want you to look at, as a community, if we can be starting more number of educational institutions, which is required for our large audience. We lack quality, great education institutions in our country. So please, whilst you do all your business activity, of course, education seems like a non-profit entity, challenging, not doable, but today's, in terms of compliances, approvals, there is so much clarity, ability to start more educational institutions and empower youths with quality education. And at MIA, I want you to seriously consider if you are able to, within your members, map the skill sets and bring this as a skill sets requirement from your industry and collaborate with education institutions or look at training institutions to ensure that you are empowering students and empower younger generations to be more skilled. The second aspect is whatever scale of activities you all are doing, look at being industrialization within our setup. Industrialization creates not just opportunities, not just employment, but it also brings in the main frame of being an economic force. The positive contributor in terms of to our country is actually valued. The more valuable we are to somebody, the less is what we are going to get impacted. The less we are going to get bullied because we are invaluable. So we need to move and be with all. We all have enough resources, alhamdulillah, God's grace, because the moment we were born, our rizq was decided. The moment we were born, our rizq was, so we all know rizq is God's already written for us. But what is important is, if we are able to bring in this within the gambit of the way the country works, within the framework of law, all our income sources, all our justifications of our income, get into the gambit of law. I'm not saying banking, it is essential, taxation essential. Now, I'm not encouraging go towards the capitalist approach, go towards the interest approach. No, that's not what I'm saying. You definitely have other ways of means of promoting capital, of bringing in fresh capital without going through riba and those practices. But all in all, look at how you can be a positive contributor towards this great country and showing your true worth, that what you can be as a force, because our consumption patterns are there. Almost roz to gosht khana chai sabko. कपड़े तो अच्छे पहनते ही हैं almost. But where is our contribution which is valued? Data is not reflecting in a true sense that we are actually a positive contributor. So I encourage you all to adapt the highest standards of ethical business practices, get into the compliance mode, because tomorrow, life after, God is going to give us a special benefit there. Because after all the zakat we've paid, we've also computed and paid an additional payment towards the country's progress, payment towards the taxation towards this country. So that also will be definitely rewarded to you life after. So please get into a contributor of taxation. Social upliftment, I don't have to speak here. You guys know how, what this can bring about a change, bringing up industrialization, then coming to empowering with education, the whole scenarios change there. So do look at it, this very interesting, I mean, it's a vicious cycle. So unless we don't fix these two systems, we are going to be struggling there. So with this, my thoughts, finally, any of your businesses in your stakeholder, please be a positive contributor to them. Money is there, you pay them wages, you pay them your bills, everything on time. But businesses which are going to strive and stand with test of time is people or businesses which had created that intangible value proposition. Intangible value proposition is something which cannot be displaced by anybody. It cannot be valued by anybody. And that's something which cannot be repaid back to you as well. So please look at how you can build in the value proposition and build that intangible value, which you transfer the intangible value to all the stakeholders possible. So thank you very much for inviting me here, allowing me on this stage to speak few words and exchange my thoughts. I wish you all the best. I just want to, I think I got inspired with Ziaullah Saab was right here and he left. One quick thought which is coming in my mind, one najm, आंखों में अरमा लिए मंजिल को अपना लिए क्या मुश्किल क्या आसान बट ठान लिए तो ठान लिए अस्सलाम वालेकुम
क्या बात है, क्या बात है, बहुत सही।